Hey guys, welcome to Brick System Brothers. Today we're going to go from this to this, otherwise known as how to print out a list of parts in most LEGO sets. So I'm going to show you how to do that, starting from Brickset, Bricklink, and Rebrickable, and end up with a printable list that you can go through to help inventory if you're finding missing parts or something like that. So let's see how it's done. So I'm going to start on Brickset. They have a pretty well done database of most LEGO sets from the time that they were first produced, and chances are they have the set that you're looking for to print out a parts list. So I've chosen 21108, the Ghostbusters Ecto-1. I think this was an Ideas, one of the Ideas sets, and we're going to be using this today as an example of how to print out the list of parts in the set. But this method should work for most modern LEGO sets since about 2000, and some of the ones before that as well. But that covers a lot of the bases. If you're buying a used lot and you can recognize significant portions of a set and you want to know, what pieces are missing from that, this is kind of a place to start. But before I go too far with these websites, I did want to mention that LEGO sets, their instructions, if you have the instructions for those, actually have a list of their included parts at the back of the manual. So in this example, this manual has been scanned in. The quality isn't really high, but you can tell, you can kind of see here that LEGO does have all the components listed with the element ID and the quantity. So it's grouped by color here, so you would go through and say, alright, there's one 2x4 white brick, and then you get done with those pieces and you keep going here. There's the yellow, red, some minifig parts, stuff like that. So if you have the manual, that's kind of a place to start if you don't have anything else at all. But this isn't as helpful for going through and like checking off boxes, especially on this black paper. If you want to like circle and make annotations and marks next to pieces, it's not super helpful for that. But I do want to mention it because most modern LEGO set manuals have the inventory in the back. Alright, so that's out of the way. Starting on Brickset, let's just go to their parts tab, and this will pull up a list of all the pieces in the set based on the inventory from lego.com. Sometimes these are not complete, especially for older sets. So just a word of caution, I would say anything within the last 10 years you're probably fine, but getting before 2000, some of those pieces might be missing and you will end up with an incomplete list of parts. For this set it should work fine, and I'm going to view inventory as a table, and then that will take us to this page here. And from here you actually have quite a few options to sort the pieces in a specific order. It looks like the default is sorted by color, so that's a place to start. If you have your collection sorted by color, this is probably the way to go. So you can start in your black bin or whatever pile of pieces you have and kind of go through and get each piece as you find it. One of the ways I like to sort pieces is by category. So when you group things by category, let's see here. Oh, that's System and Technic. Never mind. What do I want to group it by? Well, this works, I guess, if you have your System and Technic separate. Element would be, Element is probably the one I would do, and it groups similar elements together. So if I have both of my color grills in the same drawer, which I do, I could go to the grill drawer and get 1 yellow and 4 black. And then if it's sorted by color, you go to your grill drawer, you get 4 blacks, and then a little ways down the line you get to the yellow. You were already there. So it's one way to be more efficient if you have your pieces sorted by type. This is the way I would do it. So I guess get it sorted however you want. I'll leave it in the color, the default. And then you can download it as a comma separated value, but as far as printing goes, I'm just going to right click and print, and that will pull up this little dialog. This is all in Chrome browser, so I'm just going to show how to do it with Chrome browser for now. But in Rebrickable, we'll look at how to do it without kind of more of a universal approach. But on Chrome, on Brickset, just get to this inventory page, and then this will kind of give you pretty much a good place to start. It will give you a preview of the piece, the quantity here. Let's zoom in on this. I can't really zoom in on the preview, but element is over here on the left side, and then the image, quantity, color, category. All the headers that were in our original list here are copied over to the print page. And then from there, you would just print, save it as a PDF would be your print style, and then you print it and you can download it. Yeah, so that's pretty simple. You would want to save it in color. It does show the color here, but the color preview can be helpful, so you probably would want to do that. And then from your computer, you can just print the file that you saved. So that would be the way I would do it on Brickset. Let's go look at Bricklink. Now this set listing here is kind of the parallel listing on Bricklink. This is the XP, and I'm going to show the XP in the Classic Bricklink. But we'll start on XP. You just search the set number 21108, and it should bring you right to this page. And then if you scroll down a little bit, it will show you some more info. We want to view the parts, so you can either click View Details or just click on the part rectangle, and it will put the minifigs up here up front, and then all the parts down below that. Now on this Bricklink XP, there's not a lot of options for sorting or printing. So if I click on the sort options, you can do default, item number, item name, and date added. There's not a lot to sort by color or part type, so you can't do that. And you can kind of select stuff to add to a wanted list or easy buy, but that doesn't really let you organize anything on the page itself. So again, we can do the print, and that will just pull up this dialog to print to PDF. But what I don't like about Bricklink XP is it puts these headers on. I think we can take background graphics out. What does that change? That doesn't take out the headers, so that doesn't really help anything. I think that's just part of the print process from Bricklink XP. But the nice thing about printing from XP is it gives you checkboxes. So it automatically adds in those checkboxes for you, and we didn't have that on Brickset. So this is another way to do it. It's really similar layout in terms of, over on the left side is your image preview, and it's sorted by color, but it's not the same order as Brickset. So on Brickset, it was black pieces first. On Bricklink, it's white pieces first. So you would go down the list and do a similar, thing. If you have these already sorted out or just in a pile of mixed pieces, you kind of have to go one by one, and when you find it, you can check it off. For quantities higher than one, you could make a little note off to the side here. There's plenty of room in the margins. And all the other brick information is kind of piled up on the right side of the image. So that's Bricklink XP. On the original Bricklink, there's a slightly better option in my opinion. So this is the same thing here. If we go to the Ghostbusters Ecto 1 21108 item page, so this would be the old version of this page right here. So this is the original Bricklink. When Lego bought the site, they've been working on this Bricklink XP, if you're not familiar with that. So I probably should have started with this one. In any case, we have a really similar thing here where we can go to the Set Inventory tab, and we can, let's see here, I think, go to the parts link where I just clicked right here. Item consists 440 parts, and that will bring you to this little pop out. And we'll just scroll through here. Looks like these are sorted by color as well. And do we have minifigs down at the bottom? Yeah, the minifigs are down at the bottom. Right there are the minifigs. So they're kind of separate. So this is the old Bricklink, and what's nice about this one is it gives you kind of a print-friendly page here. So now we can do right-click print, and that brings to the shortcut again. all in Chrome. And now we have really similar. Each row is a different shade here, so it alternates light gray and white. So that kind of helps you tell which row you're on. And then all the part info is a little more spread out. So the part number, the name, and quantity are all here. And then these image previews are a mix of the generated file or user submitted images. So like this hose against a green background kind of stands out a little bit more, but it all serves the same purpose in the end. And this one will also print the extra pieces here. It looks like a full page of extra pieces. So you could just leave off those pages if you don't need them. But a really similar thing to what we had before on the original Bricklink. Quick thing before I move on to Rebrickable, if you go to XP and add everything to a wanted list, that would be another way to kind of get a list of pieces. So you could click that, add to a wanted list. The thing I don't like about wanted lists is when you go to print them, and the reason why you would switch to a wanted list is you can kind of sort things a little bit better. But when you go to print a wanted list, it really spaces out the parts. So instead of listing out the information and all this space over here, it kind of lists it on a new line. And so you end up with only 4 or 5 parts per page. And for an inventory of 200 pieces, that's going to be a really long document. So I would not recommend printing a list of parts by a wanted list unless you go in and like modify that somehow to print it a little better. So that would be a couple options on Bricklink. The old version and the new version both generate pretty similar lists, and you could also do it with a wanted list, but it's not as clean. I think my personal preference is printing lists from Rebrickable. So again, really similar here. Our set listing kind of database entry up here on the front, 21108. And as you use these different websites, you'll get pretty familiar with where stuff is. But on Rebrickable, you go down here, there's a couple tabs. We'll look at the inventory tab. And this is where I appreciate Rebrickable more than the other sites, is because there's plenty of sorting options here. So in the first place, you can sort it by color, and if you just click it again, it will reverse the order. So now we can start with black. It's alphabetical, so B for black is first. Click it again, it'll flip it, and now we start with yellow. Y is at the end of the alphabet. So you kind of get that option. You can sort by hue, which I don't do a lot, but it's slightly different from color. For the most part, I like printing by category because that's how I have my stuff sorted out. So like similar pieces of brackets and modified plates, in my collection, those are in the same area of my sorted drawers. And so I could take this list once I get it printed out, and this whole section of the list is going to be in the same area of my collection, so I can go there to pick those parts. I mean, and of course, if your parts aren't sorted and you're just trying to figure out what pieces you're missing, that's not super helpful. But that is helpful for me if I'm going to be building a set from an inventory. All right, so now that we have this sorted out a little bit, you're going to want to go up here to export parts, and the two that I would use for printing are HTML table and HTML grid. So let's look at the table first. The table is going to put it in rows with columns of info, and on the left side, kind of standard, is our image, part number, quantity, color, and a description. So pretty much everything you could want here to tell you about the pieces in the set. Now the fatal flaw of Rebrickable is it will not print these images unless you scroll all the way down and load them in your browser first. I learned this the hard way. I downloaded an inventory, and when I went to look at the pieces, this whole column was blank except for the first page because it didn't actually load the thumbnail until I scrolled down all the way. And you can't click and drag the slider. You have to. It seems like you kind of have to go nice and slow. So now we have this right here. We can print again, pull up the dialog, and here is a very compact inventory, 10 pages, and it's a pretty good size images for having so many per row. I think it shows you really just the info you need to know and doesn't show more than that. So I would say this is my favorite method for printing inventories, and it's left my sorted preference in order. So sorted by category, antenna is first, brackets are right here up towards the top, bricks are all in the same area like that, but it has put the colors out of order now. So just something to keep in mind. And yeah, we can print and save that. And let's go back and look at the grid. That was kind of the other option. If you want to be even more compact, you can export the same list of parts as a grid, and now that will just fill your browser with these little tabs of pieces, and it's everything, almost everything we just looked at, but it's much more compact. This actually has a pricing on there. I think that's from Bricklink. So if you can identify parts by image and you don't need the exact color, this is another way to do it. This will show you the color as rendered, but it doesn't show you the color name. So like the brown and the dark brown could be hard to differentiate a little bit. It does give you the part number, but that doesn't tell you anything about the color in most cases. So quantity, part number, and then I think this price is pulled from Bricklink for the new elements. It'll take an average of new elements for sale. So the price could be handy if you need it. And once again, we will just do the right click to print, and it'll put it all on a page for us. So if you really need to go compact, this is the way to go. We're almost down to one sheet of paper now, and just individual rectangles of parts. So much less room on the page devoted for the same cause, but you lose a little bit of info if you go that route. So I think you can do this all with Chrome. I don't know how easy it is to print stuff from a phone. I haven't tried that myself, but that might work from here as well, because what it's doing is it's giving you a new kind of tab or a new page of just the info that you want to print. So if you don't care about printing all this stuff, you can go and print off this page as well, but it will include everything in the main header, and it's not really optimized for creating a list. So yeah, that works, but it's not really clean, I guess. There's better ways to do it. So that's what I ended up with. I did save this as a PDF, and then PDFs are pretty universal. You can print those most places, and it'll put a little date and timestamp on there for you. So that's kind of 3 methods you can go about printing part lists from Brickset, Bricklink, and Rebrickable. And personal preference here is Rebrickable, just because of all the ways you can sort the pieces before you actually go and print it. And that's helpful to me because it can boost my efficiency when I'm going to pick those out of my drawers that are already sorted. And then I just have all of the same piece type in the same place. So I store all my 1x1 rounds together because I don't have, like, I have a lot of them, but I don't have a lot of them. So, and you can pick out pieces by color easier than you can by, like, if you just have all your red pieces in a bin, you know. So this is the way I would do it, but it gives you a lot of options, so that's helpful for most people. And yeah, I guess that's where I'll leave it off. Hopefully that was able to help you guys if you're looking for ways to print out inventories. And again, I haven't tried this on a phone, but I think it would work. Just test a few things out, and I'm sure there's additional options on here that I haven't really looked at. Brickset has this whole other list of stuff over here, where you could look at unique parts, rare parts, and all parts. So if you want to look at parts that are unique to this set, you can really narrow it down and see, well, these torsos and then these kind of silver ink parts actually only came in the Ecto 1 set. So you aren't really going to find those from a different set. You would have to go on Bricklink and buy these individually probably. So that can be helpful. Rare parts is another interesting one. I think that just says if these parts were in a certain number of sets or less, these are considered rare. So the Ecto 1 license plate would have been in 3 sets. And getting off topic, but I'll mention this and then end it. Brickset is nice because everything is hyperlinked, so you can work your way forwards and backwards through the database and look at all this info. So the Ecto1 license plate is actually in these 3 sets. So if you're trying to track down pieces, that's helpful to have just a link that you can click right there. All right, that's it for this video, guys. How to take a set and get a printable list of the inventory and the parts, and a little bit better quality than what's usually in the official LEGO instructions, courtesy of Brickset, Bricklink, and Rebrickable. We'll see you next time on Brick System Brothers.